Hey, what's up guys? So time for some more Spectre testing, this time with the Uniden DFR7 and DFR9. I've been talking about these detectors fairly often recently just because they're good, affordable picks. They've got good performance, they've got reasonable filtering, plus they've got GPS lockouts. So for those of you guys looking for inexpensive detectors, these are generally going to be some of the top picks. Now the two detectors themselves are very similar. They're based on the same platform, so they should have comparable performance, range, filtering, all that kind of stuff. But the DFR8 and 9 is the newer version, and it adds a number of different bells and whistles, and I've done a whole video going over all the differences compared to the DFR6 and 7. And so for those of you guys who want to learn more about the differences, you can click the button on screen or link in the video description. Now when it comes to Spectre testing, curious to see how well, RDD immune are they? Are they undetectable by different versions of the Spectre? As you guys have been seeing from the other Spectre videos that I've been posting this week, I tested with both the older Spectre 3 and the newer Spectre Elite. The Spectre 3 is a little bit older, a little bit better sensitivity. Spectre Elite, a little bit newer, a little bit better false alert filtering. Now when it comes to the Spectres, like with the other testing that I showed, the Spectre 3 does a little bit better job of picking up the radar detectors. Now between the DFR7 and DFR9, it looks like this particular copy of the DFR7 is stealthier than this particular copy of the DFR9. Now for those of you guys that have watched the videos of the R7 and the R1 and the R3 that I've recently posted, you notice that when we're testing a bunch of different copies of the detector, there can be a little bit of sample variation. Maybe one copy of a detector is going to be a little bit more stealthy than another copy. And that's a good point to know because I'm seeing some differences here with the DFR7 and 9, and you know, we can say that, well, if the DFR7 is stealthier, it's stealthier than DFR9, but we only have one copy of each detector, and so unless we have a bunch of copies, it's tough to say for sure. All we can say is maybe this particular copy of the DFR7 and this particular copy of the DFR9. But, well, actually, here, let's go ahead and jump right into the test results so you guys can see too, and then we'll dive a little bit more into the differences.
From behind. Stealth.
Yeah, that was great. Good something. And so as you can see, the DFR7 did a great job. It was stealth and it was undetectable in this set of test runs. Whereas the DFR9, I was able to pick it up with both the Spectre 3 and the Spectre Elite when it was cranked up to max sensitivity. And so based upon this test, we can say, well, the DFR7 is stealthier than the DFR9, but I don't necessarily think that's the case, again, because of some of the things that I've seen with some of the other Uniden detectors in terms of maybe one copy is a little bit stealthier than another, and I think something similar can be going on here. And it's for that reason that I think moving forward with Spectre testing, I know it's hard to do and to just get a bunch of detectors in, but I think it's especially important to get multiple copies of detectors in to see if we're getting consistently stealth or consistently detectable results. As I'm starting to find out here, results can vary. Now, a lot of you guys have asked in some of the other videos, does this also affect long-range radar detection? I don't think it's going to be the case. I remember seeing a test done with a bunch of R1s and R3s that people had sent in, and they all did really well. Of course, there's always going to be some sample variation, just due to manufacturers' tolerances with the components. One copy of a detector may be a little bit more sensitive than another. And so for that reason, we talk about hot copies and cold copies of detectors, but usually what we're seeing is, we've done tests with a bunch of red lines and a bunch of V1s and all this kind of stuff. Usually they're all going to be pretty similar. Maybe one a little bit more sensitive, one a little bit less sensitive, but usually they're going to be pretty similar. When it comes to radar detector testing, it's always nice whenever possible to test a bunch of different detectors, but it's not always possible. And I know you guys don't have thousands of detectors laying around, and even me, I've got some, but a lot of times I'm getting help from you guys sending your detectors in. And so when it's possible, yeah, we definitely do that, but I think it's especially more important here with the Spectre testing. And again, this is just something I'm finding out now that I've been doing some testing this time around with more than 3 copies of detectors, and I'm starting to see more and more differences here. And so I just kind of wanted to go into that a little bit, saying this was only with one DFR7 and one DFR9, and so maybe if we had more copies of the detectors, things would vary a little bit more. But yeah, from what I can see, the detectors, maybe depending on what copy you get, they can be stealth or they could be detectable at close range, and also depending on what Spectre the officer is using, what settings they're running, things like that. But anyway, without chit-chatting too much, there you go. There's a look at testing with the DFR7 and DFR9 against the Spectre 3 and the Spectre Elite. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this has been helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next video.